let's discuss downsizing. This is becoming a reoccurring theme in our transactions.
It really is. And, the importance of downsizing, it's not what you typically think it is either, just old folks, downsizing into a senior citizen community. There are a lot of people out there, my age, I might say, that are wanting to maybe get out of that 2-story house, but still want a home. They want some land. They still want to enjoy having that ownership, and they aren't ready for senior citizen, which is really great. But what we're finding is there's not a whole lot of communities that are built with just single stories.
Yeah, it's very tricky to find.
It is tricky to find. We're seeing that, of course, builders like to build 2 stories, larger houses on smaller footprints. It makes sense. But what happens when we're looking for those clients that need to downsize and it gets to be a little tricky?
Right. I know. I mean, we're debating right now where we're going to find a place for this current sellers that we have.
And we're kind of just, of course, always thinking outside the box. How is it that we find these properties? And we're pretty creative. I mean, we have some wonderful ideas and thoughts, and we're going to implement those.
Of course.
And you know what? At the end of the day is we're going to find what we want.
Right.
But it may not be quite as easy. And then, it's funny, too, when we have people downsizing that aren't looking to stay in the area. That's another client of ours.
Right.
So there are other options. People are considering manufactured homes, not just single family homes, but manufactured homes. And that's a good option for people, too.
Especially when they don't need a lot of land, but they just need, because it's nice that the common areas are kept up. They can enjoy other amenities that their house doesn't have to have, but that is included with the property.
That's so true, because you're right. These amenities are things that you would pay for in your HOA or in a space rent type situation, and they can open up some other activities for you. But let's say you're not that person that's really ready for, shuffleboard. Or maybe a few things like that. I know where we're putting you. But you know what I'm saying? So, but here's the other side of that, too, is that sometimes those older kids are coming home to live with you.
Right.
So even though you're thinking, well, it'd be great to downsize, we're having a need for a different style of property. And a lot of properties that we look at don't have 2 master bedrooms.
Right. I mean, I feel like there's a real market for dual master suites on the single story.
You couldn't be right on it. That is just right on point. We would love to see those builders build 2 masters and a single story. I don't know how to convince them, but, really it's the land. It's the land that's so important, and everybody wants to build up.
Well, I mean, it's particularly tricky here in Ventura County because we just don't have those types of communities. But there are places that have those communities. I mean, Sun City, Arizona, I can think of there. Even Palm Springs probably has some.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because those are areas that are not quite as congested. Like Palm Springs can really stretch out through that whole desert area. Inland Empire, they have a lot of senior communities. And when I say senior, it's 55. And that's what's so funny is, it's really quite young. I mean, when you're thinking about those individuals that are really active, they just want a different choice in their living situation. It's great for families that are doing the move up, right? And the other thing is, you don't want to have maybe a couple in a house that has this huge house, 4 or 5 bedrooms. They're using, a small percentage of the house. That house really needs to be turned over to a different type of situation, that really can require
utilizes that footprint. Yeah, that's what's so funny. I mean, one client of ours, you had that conversation with them. They didn't want to downsize that much. Then you said, but how much of this house are you actually using? You're maybe using 1,000 square feet of this footprint all the time. And then the rest of the time, it's maybe occasionally.
Right, just walking through it. And the light bulb went off. You saw it, and they went, yeah, you're right. We never go up to the front part of the house.
Yeah.
And so when you really start thinking about how much area you live in, you go, we just need a different configuration.
Right.
So that's what really makes it exciting for us, is the fact that we need to go hunt that down. We need to go figure that out for somebody and for clients. But then it opens up a property for a whole new set of buyers, and that's even better.
I know. It's so exciting to see the possibility of what's coming next for the property.
And exciting, too, for some of the sellers, because even though they may be done with the property, they're really turning it over to somebody who's going to utilize it for the next 15 to 20 years.
Right. There's, we've had kind of 2 very different transactions in that One, we had sellers move out into an apartment temporarily.
Oh, that's great.
They've got a vacant house then for all the showings. They don't have people coming and going. And then they're able to buy with cash for whatever comes next on the market. But then we have sellers that have also done the opposite. They're staying put. They've got their money. They're renting back from the new buyers, and they're just going to wait and see what they can purchase.
You bring up such great points, Natalie. Just when you're the first example, the clients that have moved out. Now, doesn't that make it great for us for professional photography, for ease of making appointments and getting in? Sometimes a property just shows so well vacant, because then a buyer can actually come in and envision themselves and their belongings, and that's a wonderful setup for us as agents. And then on the other hand, you're correct, because they now have the buying potential to hit the market hard as cash buyers. And that is probably the best case scenario. However, on the other hand, like you mentioned, clients that want to stay and do a rent back, well, that kind of takes the pressure off too while you're doing the move, because we all know that can be very stressful. So it is kind of a win-win situation, but very two different scenarios.
I mean, in other markets and in a different market than ours, you could probably even, purchase a property or put an offer in on a property contingent upon you selling. But that's tricky in this market right now.
It is tricky. Well, thank goodness for us that there are lending programs that will help you recash. So there are creative ways about getting around that. And, that's good that we need to always keep informed and make sure that we are counseling our clients, because this is a tough market. And if you want to make an offer and get it accepted, then you need the right offer. You need the right agents.
They used to call them bridge loans, to kind of get you over that. So you'd buy a different property first.
I didn't think you were old enough and knew that term.
Of course.
I know that term.
Yeah. I mean, I've even thought of using some of that creative financing before in our endeavors. Just being able to buy something first and having that loan, and then you have a set amount of time to sell your other property.
Exactly. It gives you that little step up. It gives you that strength in a competitive market. And right now, that's what we're seeing, is such a competitive market. Without supply and, without enough inventory,
really have hot demand.
You've got to make sure that you are very smart in your negotiations. Now, we've seen some multiple offer situations.
Yes.
And we've seen maybe buyers that weren't really probably represented as well as they could have been in this type of environment.
You really have to have an aggressive agent, and I don't want to knock any different type of agent, part-time or whatever, but you really have to have somebody that understands your situation and they represent you well.
It's important to navigate through this, because some of it can feel very stressful and kind of messy, and really we want to navigate. That's what we do. Get around and sidestep some of those problems and issues so that they, that we really can get to the goal. And I think we do that rather well. But we just kind of noticed in maybe a few of our multiple offers that they weren't quite as clean as they could have been.
Right. And not calling beforehand. And I don't know if that's a sign of just assuming that you're not going to get the offer accepted, but it just seems sloppy.
Wouldn't want my agent to do that for me, so it's important. But again, it's so funny too how many people we saw that that really weren't considering just a downsize, that they were kind of just doing a lateral move too, just not always downsizing, and they're willing to take on 2-story houses. These people are in their 50s, so it just depends on what you're wanting and what time of life this all makes sense.
Well, if you're an entertainer, or if you constantly host, holidays or events with your family, it would be nice to have a 2-story footprint, particularly, having bedrooms in certain areas of the house set away from the master.
A downstairs bedroom is everything in a 2-story, because I've even had clients that have had, surgeries or issues that they can't get up and down those stairs for a couple months. And having a downstairs bedroom and full bath is priceless.
It really is.
This just needs to be a master.
Yeah. I know. Sometimes you look at that downstairs bedroom, it's not quite the size that you're hoping for.
No, but that's okay. That's, again, going back to our builders and our designers and just kind of telling you what it is. This whole, culture and this whole need is different than it was in maybe the 60s and the 50s. So they've got to get on board what we really need and what we're really looking for.
Well, I had clients too. They were considering a downsize, and they looked at what was available, which was nothing.
Right.
They couldn't find anything available in the neighborhood that they wanted, so they actually ended up putting in an elevator.
Oh, that's a
So
brilliant idea.
instead of, making the move, they tried to figure out how to make the property work for them.
That is a brilliant idea because first off, they love the home.
Right.
Right. Happy.
Love the
and
neighborhood.
They figured out how to make this work. Now, that was just a brilliant idea, and therefore going on for several more years. Wouldn't have to change that up.
Right.
And I'm sure that even an elevator can be removed, but why would you?
Right.
I love that.
I know. I mean, the elevators that they make nowadays are so small, such a small footprint. You're not building this huge encased thing. It's just a very narrow footprint for them, and
they've gotten better
works.
at that. I showed one down at the beach recently, and I just thought it was so cool. So, yeah, really a good feature. Really a good feature. If there's nothing else and you can't find that right property, that's a great consideration.
Well, and I think as agents, too, sometimes we're so focused on, we got to make deals, the deals. But really, we're here to facilitate our clients and help them to enjoy their homes.
And that's what we want to do. We really, at the end of the day, we want them to be happy because it's very satisfying. And the other thing is that we want them to refer us. We do want to do our best. And we want that referral because that's gold to us. We do a good job. We want you to know it, and we want you to pass our name on to other people. Because referral is the best thing I think that we can get in our business.
Absolutely. It's just such a vote of confidence. It's so endearing to us for our clients.
So I'm liking some of those compliments.
Yeah.